Yep, and on that, I'm gonna roll right into our final story, you guys. You guys are gonna love this. This is out of Illinois, and I do want to send a shout out to a couple of our viewers. Ingrid, who originally turned me on to this kid Cole, who's out of Illinois, and he has a pretty active Twitter. I've engaged with him a few times. He is Chillinois on Twitter, and it says legalized but criminalized, you guys. Legalized but criminalized. Oh, in a recent interview, I had the opportunity to speak with a YouTube content creator who shared his experience of getting arrested in Illinois for a cannabis-related offense. This details the events surrounding his arrest, which took place after a police raid on his property. It told me that the officers confiscated his personal stash and gardening equipment, including grow lights and rosin press. The situation escalated as he found himself facing serious felony charges, including manufacturing and possession of cannabis, despite his compliance with state laws governing medical cannabis use and possession. David described months of legal proceedings with court dates repeatedly postponed, adding to the emotional and financial strain on him and his family. In a quote, they were trying to charge me with 2 felonies for being manufacturing for the rosin press, and the second was a class 3 felony. The second was going to be possession of over 100 grams of weed. I had in my personal box here because it was not a dispensary container. Since he was a registered medical cannabis patient in Illinois at the time of his arrest, it's noteworthy that David should not have been charged with exceeding his possession limit. In the past, lawyers have informed that medical cannabis patients do not have possession limits at home as long as quantities exceeding over 30 grams are secured within the home. It is also worth noting that there is no requirement in the law to have the cannabis in a dispensary container. Cannabis must be in a container that is child resistant, sealed, or closed and odor proof. A question posed to the Illinois regulators in past, attorneys have told me that the law allows you to cultivate and possess as much cannabis as you want at home if you are a registered medical cannabis patient in the state of Illinois, provided that you are within your 5-plant limit and a medical cannabis patient, and provided that all amounts that exceed 30 grams are secured in home. Is this a correct interpretation of the law? In other words, is Illinois a keep what you grow state? If not, should medical cannabis patients dispose of all quantities that exceed their possession limit? The answer the state responded with was, I want to stress that this is not legal advice, but I would interpret both sections as you did. I will check with our legal team, but I can't promise a definitive answer. I strongly recommend that individuals with questions about the legality of specific behavior consult with an attorney. Registered medical cannabis patients are allotted an amount of 2.5 ounces of cannabis for every 2 weeks, and this means that most registered medical cannabis patients can legally produce at least 5 ounces a month, which is 140 grams from medical cannabis dispensaries. As detailed by the Illinois Medical Cannabis Pilot Program annual report to the General Assembly, the data shows a significant number of patients that have been granted waivers to increase their allowable cannabis amount beyond the standard limit in 2018. A total of 249 waivers were granted, with the increase allowable medical cannabis requested ranging from 2.6 ounces to 14 ounces. Similarly, in 2019, continued in 2020 with 608 waivers granted and requested increases ranging from 2.6 ounces to 36 ounces. The 2020 report detailed 701 waivers were granted, with request increases ranging from 2.8 ounces to 15 ounces. With a standard allotment, a medical cannabis patient can purchase approximately 140 grams of cannabis per month from medical cannabis dispensaries, and these figures indicate that all medical cannabis patients require quantities exceeding the adult use possession limit of 30 grams. Medical cannabis patients are legally allowed to purchase larger quantities of cannabis cannabis with recommendations from their physicians and approved by the state. With all of this considered, it still remains unclear to me why David found himself in legal trouble. Whether he cultivated the cannabis or not, possession in excess of 100 grams of cannabis should not warrant legal intervention. Ultimately, he reached an agreement with prosecutors, resulting in his pleading guilty to the charge of possession of over 100 grams of cannabis. However, the ordeal did not conclude there. David recounted that the Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, launched an investigation into allegations of neglect and abuse stemming from the raid, despite the absence of evidence supporting such concerns about his use of a locking system on the door of his grow room, questioning whether the lock was employed as a tool of abuse. David told me that his intention was simply to comply with the law, and David also informed me that he is being required to seek out a drug evaluation as part of his plea deal. Arrests continue in Illinois despite the legal status of the state's legalization policy implemented under the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, CRTA, in 2019, failed to address key issues established by the Cannabis Control Act of 1978. Rather than decriminalizing cannabis across the board, the legalization merely created narrow exemptions, leaving many aspects of possession, use, and cultivation subject to serious legal repercussions. The lack of comprehensive reform perpetuates the enforcement of outdated laws and regulations. In short, cannabis criminalization continues as a direct result of the shortcomings of the CRTA. Oh man, patients still getting arrested for simple cannabis possession and having a rosin press at his house. They're charging him with manufacturing. I think that's a little extreme, but what do you guys think about this?
Did we hear that he had to do like some sort of drug diversion class in there? Because if you have
that's what they're saying.
If you have a regulated adult use market, I mean, I've seen that when people get a DUI, they got to go to AA, but this guy doesn't sound like he's been caught under the influence. A rosin press, for those that don't know, creates a concentrate through manual high pressure on the plant. So this is not a very sophisticated or dangerous piece of equipment, unless you put a body part in there accidentally and squeeze too hard. But it's painful to hear these articles and to think about where we are at on the calendar in 2024, that people are still going through this, much less in markets that are robust adult use markets and have as functional of and thriving regulated cannabis programs as any state that's working out the kinks. This is really sad.
I agree. I totally agree. I think it's super sad. And, Governor J.B. Pritzker wants to prance around on how great their cannabis program is oftentimes and how it's so equitable and da-da-da-da-da. But yet, if you guys still have patients that are going to jail for this type of stuff is very, very, very ridiculous to me.
Maybe we should stop measuring success by the winners and start measuring success by what is happening to the non-winners. And I don't want to call this person a loser, but the person who's getting the short end of the staff. And what does that look like?
Just call him, you could just say he's getting shafted, Yarrow, by the government.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this, Saman? He had a rosin press was involved in this crime.
No, I'm just really disgusted that patients are still being treated like this, and this just goes back to like this splintering of this conversation. People are getting left by the wayside, and it's patients. How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
I think the writing's on the wall. Yep. Get your shit together, people. Start fighting the same battle, or else we're gonna be left like this. Like, this is where we're just gonna have a total inequitable situation on our hands. So I hope it doesn't happen, but I don't have any faith based on what's been happening. So I'm staying true.
Yeah.
Hope you do too.
I heard that. And on that, I think it's a super sad story as well. And thank you to the Cole Memo for putting this out and letting us know about this. And we're gonna close this thing out today. Thank you all for tuning in every Monday through Friday to High at 9 News. Thank you